What if your ability to be more focused and more productive and just get more stuff done only comes down to just being more bored throughout the day, getting more bored more often? So I was on my evening walk on my walking pad this day, and I figured I'd just take my camera out, put my mic on record mode, and just talk about this because it's super important. And for context, my name is Manu, and I run a health and performance optimization service for entrepreneurs and executives to help them maximize their health, focus, and productivity. We have to understand that your ability to be productive and feel focused and get stuff done is directly related to your dopamine levels. You probably know what dopamine is, but for very high level context again, it's mistaken as the chemical of pleasure and desire. It's actually the chemical of pursuit and motivation. It will make you want to do things, make you want to chase challenges and push yourself to the limit to get a certain reward. But the problem is that our days have been engineered by the way that we're living our life. For example, I am a digital entrepreneur, which means the tools that I use to conduct my work is my computer, my phone. I talk to people, I communicate online with my clients, etc. I produce content on social media platforms. And the thing is that the tools that we use to conduct our work have been engineered by insanely huge companies, billion-dollar companies, if not trillion-dollar companies, I'm not sure, who have hired behavioral psychologists and neuroscientists to literally only focus on on making those platforms as addictive as possible, because the more time you spend on the platform as a consumer, the more money the companies make. So naturally, like you wanting to scale your business and make more money with your business, those companies are hundreds of levels above you, and they dominate you in that field, and they win. So mastering the art of getting bored is going to directly correlate into how much you can focus in your day. What do I mean by that? So let's say you wake up in the morning, you check your phone. Oh, let me check emails, let me check my bank account, and let me check what's happening in the business, let me check social media. And then you get up and you probably make coffee, eat something, or just go straight to work. And then while you're working, you're listening to music, you're drinking your coffee, you're using Zins or nicotine stimulants, and you're working on that one task. And while you're working on that one task, you open 5 new unrelated tabs, and you generally keep your brain stimulated constantly all the time. And then once you're done with work, let's say you want to go to the gym if you work out. And while you're on the way to the gym, you listen to something. You take pre-workout or caffeine as a way to enhance your workouts. While you're in the gym, you listen to music. While you're eating your post-workout meal, you're also watching something. And the only time of the day that you're actually bored is probably when you're trying to fall asleep. And when you're trying to fall asleep, your brain is like racing, because it's the only time of the day that you're actually left alone with your thoughts. Now, first and most important of all, when you wake up in the morning, the first 90 minutes of your day are where your brain is the most sensitive to dopamine rewards, to the dopamine spikes, so to say, in simple words, which means that the amount of reward that you give your brain upon waking up in the morning will set how much stimulus your monkey brain requires for the rest of the day. So the rule here is to adopt the morning boredom rule, let's say, which means for the first 90 minutes of the day, do something, like just get bored. What I personally do is I wake up, I don't check my phone, I only check my Aura score, because that determines how hard I'm going to push it to the gym. So I only check my aura score. I then take a poop in the bathroom without my phone. I then drive to the gym, or I just go downstairs to my garage gym. I work out in complete silence. I come back from the gym and I go to work. More than 9 minutes have passed. I have bored myself to death, and my dopamine system is recalibrated so that work is more stimulating. Because the thing is that when you learn to endure boredom, and when you manage to push through tasks that are challenging and you feel like quitting, but because it's boring, it's not really hard, but it's boring. For example, you take a super long walk in nature without music, on your own. That gets boring at some time. Once you learn to endure that and to just push through the boredom, you develop what researchers call frustration tolerance. And aside that, what also happens is that you keep your dopamine baseline level stable, and then if you minimize the amount of external stimulation, whether that be from coffee, from checking your phone, whether that be from listening to music while you're working out, the more stimulation you can remove from your day, the better, because you're going to maintain more dopamine to spend on your work. Let me give you a metaphor. Think about your dopamine levels as a water tank, okay? That water tank has a certain level of water. Let's say that the water tank doesn't have a cap, doesn't have a ceiling. Let's call it that. Now imagine that every time that you have a so-called dopamine spike, it's like you create a wave in the water tank, like shake the bottle, like shake the tank. And so the water is like having waves. Now, the level of the water at each time of the day determines your drive, your motivation, your focus, and your mood. The lower the level of the water, the shittier you're going to feel, and the more miserable you're going to feel. So we want to maintain high levels of dopamine as a baseline. But the thing that most people don't know is that the harder you shake the tank, which means that the larger the dopamine spikes, the larger the dopamine waves, the more water will flow out of the tank, and the lower the water level will get. So let's say, for example, now that you understand that the first 90 minutes of your day are the most crucial for your brain's dopamine sensitivity, you wake up and you just act like a monkey. You check your phone, you go take a crap and you're still with your phone, you make coffee and you're checking your social media while you're making a coffee, and you're sort of doing this and you're sort of doing that. You're never truly focused on one thing. This is flashing a ton of water out of the tank first thing in the morning. As a result, your dopamine baseline levels are lower, which means that normal baseline tasks that are not as stimulating are not really interesting to your brain. Because you've instantly set a baseline, a threshold of comparison to like the TikTok meth head when you first wake up in the morning. So instead, of what you need to do is first 90 minutes of the day, avoid all external stimulation. Do your morning routine. Take a walk, take a shower, hydrate, get sunlight, exercise. Give yourself about an hour to 90 minutes, and then you can start the stimulation. When you do that, and only if you do that and nothing else, it will allow you to anticipate and like look forward to start work so much more, because there is nothing more interesting to do. But if you do check your phone first thing in the morning, and if you do listen to music first thing in the morning, and if you do watch TV or play games or drink coffee or do any of one of those artificial dopamine hits or stimulus first thing in the morning, you're programming your brain to look for random, fragmented, quick dopamine hits throughout the day and forget about deep work. So the rule of thumb, the point that I'm trying to get across, is that the more, as a general rule, the more you get bored in the day, the better you become at withstanding and pushing through the boredom and feeling good with being bored. And the more, and that's obvious, but the better you become at that, so the more frustration tolerance you have, the more you're going to be able to get the hard work done. The more your brain is going to enjoy to do hard, boring work that actually pushes the needle forward. Because think about it. When was the last time that you sat down for 90 minutes and only focused on one task with 100% capacity? And when was the last time you sat down to, for example, map out one SOP, review your sales team's sales call, do one super specific task that requires a lot of mental capacity, and while you were in the task, somebody messaged you, you check your phone, you got an email, you open your WhatsApp, your Stripe, your Slack, and you start doing 50 unrelated things. Which happens more often to you? If it's the latter, you have a lot of work to do and you need to start getting more bored. This is the main point that I'm trying to get across today. Start getting more bored. Develop that frustration tolerance, and it's going to become so much easier for you to focus on the things that truly matter and ignore the chaos. Peace.